Imagine waking up and realizing you can no longer see the words you once loved. Not the headlines in your morning paper, not the text from your kids, not even your own signature. For 20 million people around the world living with dry, age-related macular degeneration, this isn't imagination. It's Tuesday, but today's story is about a scientific breakthrough so bold, so unexpected, that it's giving people something they thought they'd lost forever: the ability to read again. And it all began with a tiny device, smaller than a grain of rice, slipped beneath the retina like a whisper of hope. This is the story of the first retinal implant that is changing everything. Dry AMD is quiet. It doesn't steal your sight overnight. It erases it slowly, pixel by pixel, detail by detail, until the center of your vision is nothing but a blur, a hole, or a fog. Nothing. Doctors could only say 3 words nobody wants to hear. There is no cure. And then came a team of engineers and ophthalmologists who refused to accept that answer. Here's where the story gets interesting. While most researchers were trying to stop the damage from dry AMD, this team asked a different question. What if we could bypass it? Not fix the dying cells, not slow the disease, but skip the broken machinery entirely and feed visual information directly into the retina. A bold idea, a crazy idea, the kind of idea that changes the world. They designed an implant only 2 millimeters across, thinner than a sheet of paper, embedded with microscopic electrodes. Think of it like a translator for the eye, a chip that listens to light and speaks in the language of neurons. But technology is only half the story, because a discovery like this needs a moment where science meets humanity. Her name is Elaine, 72 years old, former librarian, collector of mystery novels, lover of crossword puzzles. Dry AMD took all of that from her. She describes her vision like trying to see the world through a wet paper towel. Faces were gone, words were gone, books, her lifelong friends were gone. When she joined the clinical trial, she didn't think the implant would work. She said she just wanted to help the next generation. She didn't know she was the generation. The surgery lasted only 45 minutes. A tiny incision, a microscopic tunnel beneath the retina. A surgeon's hand steady enough to thread a hair through the eye of a needle. The chip slipped into place like it had always belonged there. For a week, nothing, just healing, rest, uncertainty. Then the follow-up. Elaine sat in the exam room. A large screen in front of her, a single word displayed on it: home. The implant was powered on. A pause, a long one. Then she whispered, "I see lines, dark lines." The doctor enlarged the word. "What about now?" Another pause, then tears. "It says, home." She read a word. Over the next weeks, something extraordinary happened. Every appointment brought new victories. Single letters, then double letters, then whole sentences. Books were still too difficult, but large print text? She devoured it. Menus, labels, notes from her grandchildren. She said it felt like getting oxygen again. She wasn't the only one. In the months that followed, more patients began reading. Not perfectly, not like before, but independently, with their own eyes, guided by a chip pulsing signals into their neural circuitry. Let's slow down and peek under the hood, because this is where the engineering turns almost poetic. The retinal implant does 3 remarkable things. First, it captures light patterns, not full images, just the essential outlines, shapes, and contrast that make reading possible. Second, it converts those patterns into electrical impulses. Think of it like Morse code for the retina. Third, those impulses stimulate still healthy retinal cells, which then send signals to the brain. So even though the central vision cells are damaged or missing, the signals skip past them, hop onto the remaining neural network, and ride it straight into the visual cortex. The result? A simplified, yet functional form of sight. Not sci-fi, not theory. Real patients, real words, real reading. Science didn't restore the dead cells. It built a bridge over them, a full word, for the first time in 7 years. No dramatic music, no flash of light. Appointment arrived. the moment the world held its breath. The chip is 30 micrometers/microns, 0.03 millimeters thick, about half the thickness of human hair. A zoom feature gives patients the ability to magnify letters. It is implanted in the subretinal layer, under the retinal cells that have died. Until the glasses and waistband computer are turned on, the implant has no visual stimulus or signal to pass through to the brain. In addition to practicing their reading and attending regular training, patients on the trial were encouraged to explore ways of using the device. The door is open for medical devices in this area because there is no treatment currently licensed for dry AMD. It doesn't exist. The rehabilitation process is key to these devices. It's not like you're popping a chip in the eye and then you can see again. You need to learn to use this type of vision. These are elderly patients who are no longer able to read, write, or recognize faces due to lost vision. They couldn't even see the vision chart before. They've gone from being in darkness to being able to start using their vision again. And studies have shown that reading is one of the things patients with progressive vision loss miss most. You might be wondering, does this mean blindness from dry AMD is cured? Not yet, but this technology is the first crack in a wall that once seemed unbreakable. Next generation implants are already in development, with more electrodes, sharper signals, wider fields of view. What began as a lifeline for reading may soon evolve into something bigger. Recognizing faces, navigating streets, seeing the world in fuller detail. Imagine millions of people who've quietly watched their world fade, suddenly watching it return. Not perfectly, not all at once, but enough to restore independence, dignity, connection. 3 months after her surgery, Elaine walked into the clinic holding something the doctors hadn't expected. A book, large print, bright cover, thick pages, her favorite mystery author. She told her doctor, "I read 4 pages yesterday. It took me an hour. Best hour I've had in years." When asked what she breakthroughs often appears suddenly. A press release, a headline, a viral post. But behind them are years of quiet effort. Late nights in labs. Trials that fail. Trials that almost work. And the courage of patients willing to try what no one has tried before. The retinal implant that lets dry AMD patients read again isn't the end of the story. Wants to read next, she smiled. Everything. That's not just a medical breakthrough. That's a human one. It's the opening chapter of a new one. A chapter where blindness is not a conclusion, but a challenge. Where science rewrites the rules. Where a tiny piece of silicon brings back the words people thought they'd lost forever. Today, sight returned for a few. Tomorrow, maybe for millions.